an LED strip light, and this one came from Banggood. It was available in warm white or cold white. ZX T5 30cm 4 watt 400 lumen tube, and it says, let's see, this tube light is only 28 centimeters. Package is really good, no need to worry about the damage. What else does it say? Seismic impact resistance, non-thermal radiation safe, stable and reliable. And where's the other bit? Note, this light cannot connect more than 5 pieces. Now, if it's only 4 watts, I would have thought that, you know, the cable should handle 20 watts, no problem. So I wonder why they say that, you know, you can't connect so many in series. Unless they're just allowing for, maybe they're just allowing for traditional fluorescent ones. So let's take a look inside. What do we have? A packet of clips. The fitting, a very short cable, as is usually the case. First things first, let's check earth. That's what I usually do. So let's use the continuity test. Guessing the middle pin is earth pin. It is actually got the wee earth symbol. That's a good start. Let's plug it in. And, oop, scrunchy plastic noises. And check to the case. No earth. Oh, that's a bad start. What about from directly from the pin? And I'm scratching into the aluminium here trying to make a connection. Nothing. Let's try to the other end. Nothing. Oh, that's a bit disappointing. There was no earth continuity through it. Rightio, that's interesting. Let's lock that exposure off before it starts dimming up and down. Oh, that's not the correct thing. That's what I want to press there. There we go. Now, this is being filmed in a Moto G4, and I've got the microphone mounted in my hat. I have to say that the audio is a bit mute. That's the one drawback here. I'm not sure why it's doing this. You guys can let me know, is there some hidden setting in the Moto G4 that lets me increase the level the audio is recorded on the video as such? I can't find a setting for that. Let's get these labels off, because I can actually feel that there's little studs underneath, and I think they're what actually holds the thing together. So let's get these labels off. I think that is just a little catch. Let's push that in and see if we can pop this out. There we go. There's nothing connected to earth at all. There's not even the little tang that's been used in some of them that goes down the way. Alright, so not earthed. Oh, you know what? Before I even go any further, I haven't even tested this, have I? To see if it lights up. Should get my priorities right here. So let's snap that back in, snap being the word. Plug this in, plug it into the quick test, and note that it's not earthed at all. Another thing I've noticed about the Moto G4 is that it makes me sound extremely boomy, but then my voice is quite bassy. Maybe it's just my voice that's incompatible with every other camera about. I'd like to use the Moto G4 as my main camera now, because it means that it can go with me everywhere. It's always in the pocket anyway. Righty-ho, let's turn it on. Oh, that's reasonable enough. It's not super mega bright. It is fairly low wattage. Let's bring in the power meter. And just focus on there. Power meter. It says 2.8 watts. Do you think that's just a 3 watt driver? 20 milliamps. Is that going to be a capacitive dropper or a little, you know, you get those little 3-watt drivers that look like this. I wonder if it's one of these that's inside. Pretty sure I've seen one like that recently. Or is it going to be a capacitive dropper? That's quite intriguing. A capacitive dropper would not be a great surprise. Power factor indicator would actually show that, but let's batter on and take this apart anyway. Tuck the cable behind my ear where it's out the way. So let's pop this open again and see if we can take it to bits. Oh, and this should slide off. What arrangement do we have the LEDs? I see the LEDs are hooked in series groups of 1, 2. Oh, that's pretty hard to actually see for sure. I'm trying to see what way the LEDs are hooked in series here. I would say that they're hooked in pairs. Okay, let's get the rest of it to bits and see if we can drag out the power supply from inside. Get this other label off it. It's that situation where the LEDs are, you know, they're under that, they've got the tracks are under this white coating, so it's pretty hard, the screen print, it's pretty hard to see exactly how they're sort of wired. I could actually measure the voltage across the end. It's a little driver by the look of it. Let's just chop the wires off that end. Chop. Whip it out. What do we have? Is it going to be a capacitive dropper or is it going to be a little driver? Let's get the sticky tape off and see what's inside. It's a little buck driver, because that's just a little inductor, because there's only 2 effectively. Although it's got 4 connection points, there's only 2 connections on it. Let's take a wee close look at this, shall we? Let's take my fingers away from everything else and short out the capacitor, shall we? There we go. That should do it. Fingers, yep, that'll do. So let's bring this up here and see if we can take a look at that. It looks like a typical driver with the little 8-pin control chip under there. Not really an awful lot to it. It looks like a typical driver. Let's focus back down to here. So what's the number of the chip? Oh, it's a Bright Power. It always does. Bright Power seemed to have corded on the market. BP2831A. Yeah, it's, you know, no great surprises. I'm trying to work out how the LEDs are wired. It's not, oh, you know what? They might have been piggybacking along. They might have been doing that thing where they sort of jump along every second LED so that if one section goes out, it still lights across the full length. I could be wrong. Yeah, because the negative's going way along to the other end, so it may actually have that arrangement. But, so what lets this down then is the fact that they've not bothered with the earth. And it's an aluminium housing, I suppose. Well, you know, there's that thing that this circuit board is referenced to the mains effectively, but, you know, there seems to be modest track clearance, but it does slot into that aluminium groove. Ooh, slots rather footery into that aluminium groove. So how clear is the track from that? The track is... Oh no, the track is actually riding right under that aluminium groove. So if it was pushed in, it's scraped. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, no. Sorry, this light is not getting any clivey points at all. It's a bit dodgy because ultimately there is a possibility that this aluminium housing could actually make contact with the LED sort of common bus bar running up here, because the only thing between you the casing and the live circuitry, because it is referenced direct to the mains, is really that layer of the coating on the PCB, the sort of screen print. That's not so good. That's not so great at all. So yes, no, I think we'll give that one a miss. Extra bits, I've dug out the datasheet for the chip, and it's not one I had in my BrightPower collection. I'm now going to just save a copy of the BrightPower datasheets every time I download it, every time I find one in a product. It says BPS confidential. Am I breaching that confidentiality? They might try and kill me. Mind you, this light fitting might try and kill me given that it's not earthed. I have noted down the component values. The LEDs are actually wired as pairs along the length, and there's 10 pairs in series. So you get a pair in parallel, and then they're all connected in series. So I'd expect about 30 volts across that. We'll measure that afterwards. The circuit uses the classic arrangement. It's very similar to the BrightPower circuits that use that little 3-pin chip, the little amazing one that just, does everything on one little transistor package. But this one has the extra pins available, and effectively it uses one, whereas the little 3-pin chip generates its own power supply. All it's got is the sense resistor, and then it's got a capacitor that effectively it's using the ground beyond the sense resistor as its ground, and it's generating, when the circuit's off, it's generating a sort of power itself. This one doesn't do that. This one just uses a resistor and capacitor to generate its power rail, because it's so low current that, the resistor's fine. In this case, they've got two 510k resistors in series. That's very good. That increases the voltage rating of the resistors by having those two in series, said Clive. Checking before he picked that up. Actually checked after I'd picked it up. That's not very good. But it wasn't lit, it's fine. So they've got the two resistors here that are in series, and they're 510k resistors, so roughly 1 megohm, with this unknown value capacitor. Can't really measure it because it's in the circuit. And that generates power supply. So you can imagine it basically at 1 megohm. It's taking microamps to power this thing, which it is just MOSFET based. It's got ROVP, I'm guessing over voltage protection, not sure. But the value of that resistor they've got for that is 22k. The diodes, they're showing discrete diodes here, but it's an MB10F bridge rectifier, 3.3 megafarad, 400 volt smoothing capacitor. And then the capacitor over here is 2.2 megafarad at 250 volt. And that's fundamentally, except the sense resistor. They show one sense resistor here. In this case, as is often the case, they've got two positions in parallel, which means that they can fine-tune that value. So they've got a 5.6 and a 6.2 ohm to set the current through those LEDs exactly. And that just leaves, let's power it up. Let's make sure it's kind of safe to power up, because it is effectively live at mains voltage. Bring the meter in. Turn it to volts. Let's turn it up to 200 volts, because I'm guessing it's going to be in the region of about 30 volts, because there's 10 LEDs and they're about 3 volts per LED. Oh, how close is that? 30.9 volts. So yes, it's an interesting light. It's a very stereotypical arrangement. It works, but it's got that slight issue that the track on this circuit board does run, the negative track runs right along this edge here. And when it's sat into this aluminium channel, the aluminium is riding, right above that track. It is able to sort of eclipse it, so to speak, which isn't really ideal. So what could be done? Well, I wouldn't actually use that as it is unless I connected an earth. I suppose you could connect an earth, but it's always tricky getting a good earth onto aluminium, because the whole point of aluminium is, what makes aluminium special is that the aluminium forms an oxide layer in the surface. That's what makes it such a stable material. Without that ability, it would just corrode away instantly. And that oxide layer is unfortunately quite high resistance, so earthing aluminium cases is always a bit of a nightmare. However, as it stands, with the little end clips like this, and the little plastic cover, this would be ideal for conversion. If you've got one of these and then decided, maybe I won't use it for mains voltage operation. If you got a bit of 12 volt LED tape and just stuck it in and connected 12 volts, you could easily adapt this to make it into a simple and serviceable 12 volt LED strip light. And that would give you options of colour choice and intensity. So yeah, Interesting, worth opening, worth seeing, but not one I'd actually recommend for buying.